Yo, what's up, guys? Today I'm going to give you guys a few tips to help you with your job search. I know these tips help me personally, and let's just get right into it. Obviously, I'm going to start with resumes. We're going to start from the bottom and work our way up to the top. What you want to do is put the thing that's least important at the bottom. So for me, it's education. Now, if you look at my education, I have a coding boot camp and I have a trade school that I went to in high school. It's somewhat tech related, so I just put it in there anyway. But I didn't go to college, so I'm going to put that at the bottom and not at the top because, if recruiters looking at that, and one of the requirements in the job posting is you have to have a degree, then if they see that first, they're probably just going to skip it immediately and not read the rest. So that's why I have that in education. And then in experience, I also put my coding boot camp. It's not something you have to do, but I recommend it because if you have no experience, you're probably going to just toss your resume out. You're never going to make it to the interview. So it's okay to kind of lie, I guess. I mean, it really is experience, but it's not like professional work experience. But what I did was just put my coding boot camp, put some of the stuff I did. I made sure not to make it a paragraph because if you're a recruiter, you got a lot of resumes you have to go through. You're not going to want to read a whole paragraph on what someone did for anything. As soon as you make it to that paragraph, you're probably just going to skim like the first line and then you're done with it. So bullet points really help with that. Makes everything a lot more neater and readable. Now, since I don't have real experience, I'm going to put that lower because the lower you get is like the least important. You're trying to showcase what is strong to you first. My experience is not strong to me because it's not really professional work experience, so I don't want them to see that first. The next thing we have is projects, right? This is probably the most important part of any developer's resume, to be honest. So next we have projects, right? Projects is the most important thing in a developer's resume, or a junior developer, I should say. Once you reach a certain point and you have experience, of course, if you worked at a bigger company like Google or something, then definitely experience goes first. But for a junior, you're trying to just get your first job, definitely put projects up in either first or second. I have all my projects listed out. I have the tech stack I use, all the technology. I have a clickable link that takes you to the GitHub page so you can see the repo, they can see the code, they can see everything I've done for that project. Then I have a short description of the project, just what it does. And then after that, I have these bullet points. In these bullet points, I kind of wanted to just talk about what the project does, or not really what it does, but what I did for the project. So as you can see, I deployed the project. I built the project using, these technologies. I planned the backend using ERD diagrams, stuff like that. Designed the mockups using Figma. So basically in the bullet points, just kind of summarize it. You just want to put what you did for your project because, some projects are group projects. So you obviously want to put in a bullet point that you worked with a group. And you also want to say, what you did in the group. Now we have skills. It's the most important part to me because I feel like when you're applying for a job, it's like skills is the most important part for any junior developer because, you want to showcase what you know how to do, or at least somewhat know how to do. With my skill section, I have it categorized because, a recruiter may not know what's the difference. They might look for certain programming languages, but if it's all jumbled up and mixed together, they won't really know, like, okay, this is where all the programming languages are. This all he knows in terms of programming. For frameworks, say they're looking for somebody who knows Angular. They're not going to see Angular in this. Or if they're looking for React, they see React first. It just makes it easier for the person looking at the resume to know what you know. But now we're going up to the top. The top consists of my name. You got the phone number, email. It's all clickable. Link to my GitHub. You can just obviously load it up, click the links, and just makes everything easier. You don't have to copy it and then paste it in the browser. It's just very accessible. Okay, this is the website I use to make my resume. It makes everything easy. I'll show you some stuff you can do with it. I don't have things filled out, but as you can see, there's different templates you can use. You have all the sections. You can move them around. You can pretty much swap any of these. So instead of words, you can have not too sure what you would put here, but There are a lot of things you can do, and then you can also export it in PDF, LaTeX, or JSON. But if you export in LaTeX, you can use Overleaf. You can edit pretty much anything. You can subtract space, make everything a little more condensed. You can make things clickable that should not be clickable. It just lets you customize things a little bit better than the website does, which you may or may not need. Next, we're going to talk about portfolios, and obviously we're developers, we're not designers. If you're a designer, then this pretty much doesn't apply to you, but for developers, just grab a template, just go on a website like this and take pretty much any template you want, and just make sure you customize it though, so it doesn't look exactly like the template. There's a couple things you can do. You can change the color, you can change the wording, maybe change the entire layout, but just make sure it doesn't look too much like what you start with. For me, I just used this one and I just customized it a lot. It kind of doesn't look like this template anymore, which is what I was aiming for. So moving on to projects. Most people say create a project that has real world use. I'd say just kind of do that, but also be creative. Not too creative to the point where no one can really understand what it does. Be more creative in the fact that do something that everyone isn't going to have. Everyone's going to have a to-do list. You don't want to have a to-do list as one of your projects. You want something more complicated than that. Maybe a shopping list that's able to be shared between users. That's a little bit more complicated. Use a couple more technologies. It shows that it has real world use, but it's also a little creative. Not everyone's going to have that as a project. One of my projects that I did in bootcamp was a file storage project. I learned a lot from this. I only had a week to make it. I didn't really touch it after that, but it was pretty much a file storing project. I made it more focused towards music. You pretty much could upload a file and share a link, and someone else can visit that link and download the file and also listen to it. It was pretty cool. It was fun to build. If you're in bootcamp, obviously you're going to make these projects like these, but if you're not in bootcamp, just don't use tutorials too much, because you're not really learning too much from those. Try to build your projects that you want to display in your resume from scratch. Build everything from the ground up. Okay, now we're on to the last section, which is the actual job search itself. It's not too many tips I can give here. It's pretty much a numbers game. It's all random. If a company wants to hire you or wants to give you an interview, it's pretty much up to them. There's nothing you can really do. They say write cover letters. From my experience, I've never gotten an interview because of a cover letter, but the one thing I will say is do not apply for a remote job, because everyone's kind of looking for a remote job, and then especially if you're a junior developer, not too many companies are going to trust you to work remote. But right here is a prime example. You have a remote job 2 days ago. Obviously salary is kind of insane. You can apply, but don't really get your hopes up that you'll get an interview from these, especially if you're coming from a coding bootcamp, you don't have a degree, and this is your first job. I would say try to look for things locally. So as you can see here, these are local to me. You have a job posted 3 days ago, no applicants yet. It's an entry-level job. You have a way better chance of getting an interview. As I scroll down the list, you'll see most of these jobs have no one applying to it, or have less than 10. I'm not sure if it's like this everywhere, but I would say from my experience, I told my friend to stop applying for remote jobs and apply completely locally, and he got an interview in his first week of doing that. Instead of applying for any job he's seen, he just only applied for things that were local to him. But I would say that's pretty much the most important tip. Just literally apply for every job locally. Set an alert if you have to, and just apply for jobs as soon as they're posted. It doesn't matter what they say. I mean, they can say they need 3 years of experience. They're not going to look for somebody with 3 years of experience in an entry-level job. They do that to deter people that are not serious about getting this job. A lot of people will see 3 years of experience, and they just won't click apply just because they see that and they think they're not going to have a chance. But from my experience, these job requirements aren't really requirements, they're kind of like preferences. They're like, they will prefer someone that had 3 years, but they will take somebody that only has like 6 months. But that's pretty much it in terms of tips. Obviously, make your resume look good, tweak it every now and then, use a portfolio template, don't try to build it yourself. And in your job search, just apply for anything local. Don't really apply for remote jobs like that. I mean, it's okay if you want to just see what happens, but I would say don't do that. But yeah, if you haven't heard any of these tips before, just leave a like, comment some of your thoughts, and that's about it.